Hey everyone, it's Charles, and I'm sure you guys can tell what this video is about. If not by the title, then certainly by what you see. Unfortunately, as you probably also know, Connecticut also signed some useless new gun laws into effect that make us effectively the most anti-gun state in the United States. But I managed to sneak in these two before the bill was signed into effect. And so I have these two to share with you guys, my first pistols. Technically, this one is a week older, although I paid for them at the same time, so I guess, I guess they're considered twins. But anyways, so moving onwards, I'm sure, like I said, you guys know what these two pistols are just by looking at them. This is the P08 Luger, and this is a Walther P38. Actually, this is a Mauser manufacturer. If you're German, I believe you pronounce them P08 and P38. The Germans never called the Luger a Luger. They always called it the P08, P08. So I want to make this video short, and by short I mean I'm probably going to ramble on forever. So let's get to it. The P08 Luger, this particular example, was made in 1916. It's a post-World War II Volkspolizei refurbishment. And you can tell that from a couple ways. Number one is the black plastic grips as opposed to the original wood. And number two is the re-blue job, which actually is actually quite beautiful. And the numbers on all the little bits don't match either. Actually, the barrel assembly and the takedown lever match, but they don't match to the frame, and the toggle train doesn't match to the frame or the barrel assembly or the frame either. But it does match to itself with the exception of the extractor, which I'll talk about in a bit. So first impressions, it's a very high quality handgun. You can tell the magazine is a reproduction, it's a Mekgar, but just nothing shakes in here. There's nothing loose, everything just fits tight, even though this is a mismatched pistol. It points very easily, and it feels right. It's not heavy, it balances well, it points well, and I'm sure it's a brilliant shooter as well. The barrel is quite good. Like I said, this is from 1916, and there is a little frost in the barrel, but for a pistol that's so old, not bad, I think. It's fared quite well. The small pieces here are strawed, as you might be able to see, and strawing is simply where you just bake the metal at a certain temperature until they turn this yellowish gold color, which is very aesthetically pleasing. And you can just tell that this pistol was designed and manufactured in another era. There are just no tool marks visible, a few here and a few here on this portion of the frame, but just, gosh, what a lovely piece. I wish you guys were here. The downside to that is you have a very finicky pistol. It does not like you can see that there's also a little tab here that you can pull down and insert your rounds. But and this is partially because of the shape of the magazine. You can't just mash rounds in there, but also it's quite convenient, and the spring is quite powerful. You need a very powerful spring to work the toggle, which is based off the inspired by the Maxim. So let's see if I can get this thing to work. It's very finicky, like I said, when it comes to feeding. You have to work it with some authority. So let's give it a go. The safety, like I said, the downside to having a very high quality is that it's finicky, and also this being a very early design has a couple quirks. Number one, the safety doesn't work unless the gun is cocked, and there's no way to tell if the gun is cocked, but there is a loaded chamber indicator, and since if you have a loaded chamber, chances are you have a cocked weapon. This is a striker fired pistol. And there's a sear bar right here that, when you pull the trigger, it pushes in the sear bar, lets the pin drop. But anyways, so let's put a round in the chamber. Here we go. And you probably won't be able to see it. And of course, these are snap caps. These aren't loaded rounds. So I'm not pointing it at myself. The extractor has popped up, and it exposes the word geladen, which means loaded in German. So if you're a German officer in the trenches in night, at nighttime, it's nighttime in the trenches, you can feel the top of your P08 Luger and see if it's loaded or not. And the trigger is absolutely magnificent. Oh, actually, before I pull the trigger, here's the safety. Here the bar pops up to prevent the spring, the sear bar from being pushed in, as I mentioned, as you can see there. And this exposes the word gesichert in German, which means safe. So the trigger, as I was getting to, is absolutely magnificent. It must be honestly like 3 pounds or 4 pounds. Actually no, probably less than that. 2.5, 3 pounds, I would say. Whoops! I already activated it. I already dropped the pin. Oh, and there you can see it's very finicky when it comes to loading these rounds. Yeah, it's scuffing up my my snap caps. But the trigger has a bit of take-up, a very small amount of take-up, and then it's just, like I said, a 2.5, 3 pound, very crisp. Oh, it's beautiful. And just, it's, I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. I'm very happy with this pistol, obviously. Oh. That's not supposed to happen. And this, the serrations on the toggle here are really rubbing my skin raw. I hate to sound like a wimp, but there we go. Just what a magnificent pistol. I'm going to go after that snap cap that just popped out like the Saturn V rocket. And then we're going to move on to the P38, or P38 if you're German. Now, by the time World War II was rolling around, it was pretty clear that the Luger needed a replacement. Number one, it's unreliable. I wouldn't say it's unreliable, but it's very susceptible to dirt, sand, mud, all of which can be found on abundance on any battlefield. In fact, no battlefield is short of those things. And it was just very susceptible to jamming up once there was even the slightest amount of foreign debris in there or something like that. And also, it takes forever to make one of these things. Like I said, there are just no tool marks. The amount of hand polishing and hand fitting, it's just absolutely, astronomical. While it produces a very fine end product, it's just not a weapon for war. Even though the round fires 9mm Parabellum, this come to think of it, this is the original 9mm Luger, means for war. So yes. So let's drop the, and to decock the toggle, the Luger rather, what you do is you pull the toggle back until you reach this point. You'll feel a catch. Hold the trigger down and let it go forward. And as you can see, it's uncocked. Now, the P38 is simpler to build. Like I said, it just has, you can tell this is a BYF 44. This is a Mauser 1944 production. The finish is nowhere near as nice. Like I said, this is a post-war Volkspolizei rebuild, so the finish is not original, but it would have been a blue, a very nice blue originally. Whereas this one just has a military blue. You can see that they didn't polish as many portions. For example, the grip here is very unpolished. The barrel still has lathe marks on it. I don't know if you definitely can't see it, but if I run my fingernail over it, you can hear that zipping sound, which is my fingernail running over the lathe marks. The safety is right here, and it can be worked while this pistol is uncocked because it's a double action, single action. The first military pistol to do so, I believe. And this pistol is all matching. This is a mix. This is a mix match, and this is all matching original condition, 95% I would say, plus, which is really quite excellent. It doesn't have a matching magazine, but this is a World War II magazine, and it has a slide hold open or release, depending on, it's just semantics really. And it's really convenient for if you have a jam, you can just simply pull the slide back, engage the hold open, and just work out whatever problem you have, as opposed to holding the toggle back and dropping the mag and fiddling with it. It's a real pain in the butt with the Luger. The P38 is of course less susceptible to dirt, grime, mud, whatever. It's a double action, single action, which means you can carry the hammer down and you can fire it in single action. It does have a decocker, which is the safety right here. You push it down and it will cause the hammer to drop. The manual says you should ease the hammer down, so like that. And then when you return the safety lever back into the fire position, the trigger goes forward so that you can fire in double action. So let's put some snap caps in here. There's no provision on the magazine to pull down the follower. This is just like any other pistol magazine that you're familiar with. Just mash your rounds in one by one. And another complaint that the Army made was that the Luger's thumb release style release here that we all know and love was too easy. It was too easy to accidentally hit this and drop your magazine in the trenches, and that's just not a good situation to have. So we are going to put some snap caps to the P38, and that's like I said, that's why they went to the heel style release. It's not too inconvenient once you get used to it. At first it does take a bit of practice, but you get used to it. Anyways, so let's put one in the chamber. This one has a regular slide, just like any other pistol you know and love, and the loaded chamber indicator here is this pin that protrudes back out of the slide when you have a round in the chamber. So let's start off in double action, which is really quite heavy. It's not terrible now that I'm used to it, but it's just when I first had it, it was like, ugh. Just a lot of work to pull that trigger. But again, it is the first double action pistol, and I have gotten used to it. The sights on this thing are much better than the P08 Luger. The P08 Luger has this tiny little V back here, not unlike the Mauser rifle. This one has a much wider U and a much larger front post, which it lets you really, see your target, and then put a bead on them and pull the trigger. Single action is nice, although it's not as good, nowhere near as good as the Luger. It's just there is a bit of take up again, and it's just not as crisp, but it is quite good. And another thing about this pistol is that it ejects the empties out to the left as opposed to the right on most modern pistols. And it has a tendency to do that on the last round. So there you go. I guess that's where I bring it to an end. I have all your other little accessories, and I have some ammo. You have to have a permit to buy ammo in Connecticut now. I have some black leather gloves to make you look very evil or very, very officer-ish or Bond villain-ish. And some spare mags, P1 mags for the P38. They fit just fine. Even though one of these does fit a bit tighter than the rest. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one fits a bit tighter. But this one goes in smooth as glass. Yep. So there you go. I hope this wasn't too long, and I hope to get the chance sooner or later to take these out to the range. But here are my P08 Luger and my P38 pistol, and they are my first pistols. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope to see you ladies and gents later.